Welcome back to the castle where we are building out our walls and tower. Starting here on this corner tower, this is going to be the deepest tower because it's actually going to go all the way down to the water line. And then just building it up to kind of get an idea of how tall. And notice how I've decided that I needed to make the wall straight. Instead of curving it, I decided I was going to make the wall straight. And then I screwed up this side because, well, I did. And I didn't realize it until too late. Now I'm going back and fixing it. Now I'm using stone block right now. I am going to go back and use mossy stone block and cracked stone block. But I wanted to first go through and really build with the stone block because I won't use mossy or cracked everywhere. And here you saw me moving that circle in a little bit because I felt like that was the better spot for that circle. And now I'm just kind of cleaning out that entryway, and then I decided I wanted to make that entryway a little bit bigger, so I just kind of quickly mapped that out before going back to the corner. Here I am still working my way up on the corner, just bringing this particular tower all the way up, just kind of leveling things off. Now I'm just building up this basic wall, and then the small guard tower that I'm going to have on this smaller bridge that we're building up here. We're just working our way across, trying to fill in as much as we can. And I do come back and I'm going to clean up some of this. There's some areas where it's just obviously sitting directly on dirt, and that's going to end up being removed, and I'm going to replace that with stone. Now back here I replaced the tower with a half circle. So instead of making a full circle or a square tower, I just decided to use a half circle there. Here I am putting in some stairs, just to create a feel of continuity with that particular tower. And extending this wall back and leveling everything off. Now I didn't intend necessarily to have this as a completely level area, it just ended up that it was the most logical choice for me at the time. When you think about it, it does actually make sense because you'd want your wall to be pretty even throughout so that you knew what your enemies were doing when they approached. Now I'm just working on this tower where I put the template way up in the sky because there were trees there. I lit all the trees on fire. That's how I made them all go away so quickly. And now we're just building this tower up. And then plumbing in for what's going to be the rest of the wall on the side of the castle. Here we are finishing off this particular tower. See, I'd gone back and I'd really templated out a lot of these towers a little bit better. I went and got my Minecraft circle template because I wanted to actually make some changes to the size of some of these towers, and that required me to get the circle template. Now we're just putting up this tower on the back side here. And again, right now I'm really running through replacing a lot of cobblestone with stone brick. I am not going to leave stone brick as the walkway down here. I'm probably going to replace that with something else. I just don't know what yet. Now I'm just laying down all the flooring for this particular tower. There might be large areas like the towers where I'll keep the stone brick as floor. I just don't know yet. So I went ahead and just laid it all in. And now I'm just building up the floor for this particular tower. Here I go running the rest of this down. All the way down to our other corner tower. So we can come full circle and we'll have replaced all of our cobblestone with stone brick. Now we're just going to lay in the floor, and then I realized as I was working my way along here that I had an offset in terms of the flooring. So I had to make a decision how I'm going to handle that. I'm just cleaning up a little bit and laying in this the wall in that area. And then I went ahead and punched out what's going to be the expanded gateway. We're just running the the bridge across. I'm actually working on the landing on the opposite shore. Then I came back and cleaned some stuff up and put a just the archway. And here's our castle at night. I'm filling in that big hole because there's no reason for it. Quite honestly, there's very little reason for a hole that big in that area. So we're just going to fill that hole in. You can get sort of an idea of the scale of this castle at this point. This isn't going to be a small structure by any stretch of the imagination. Now I do level off, and I will end up leveling off most of the dirt in here. And to me, it sort of made sense again from the perspective of how I would want my castle to be. And now here I'm just laying down. Here's my center lines coming out of my two bridges, so that I could kind of make a decision where I wanted the main tower. And when I say main tower, this is going to be a big tower, and I'm actually going and getting a circle template during that pause there, and counting out so that I can get this tower to the correct size. I'm looking for a big tower here, not some small little tower. I want this to be the biggest tower here, and it's really going to lord over the rest of the towers. You see me having continual trouble with the Minecraft circle template. I'm having to alter the tower as I go. And I actually made a decision after working on, maybe it wasn't this tower, it might have been the next tower, that I wasn't going to use those cross pieces that everyone uses for counting. They just don't work for me quite as well as they probably should. And that's probably my own problem. Now I'm just going through and I'm just kind of putting some basic touches on this big circle. You can see just how big we're talking at this point. Here I am putting in one of the smaller towers, because this is going to be kind of a modified castle. Now, most castles, they don't have a bunch of, or they do have some towers, but the towers aren't. And here I realized to put that tower in the completely wrong spot and had to move it. Most castles, the towers on the interior also are used as part of the structure for all of the halls and hallways in there, but I didn't want to do that here. I'm actually going to kind of mold these towers into what will be the central hallway of this particular castle. I built this smaller tower here as sort of an adjunct tower hanging off on the side. Decided to just build it up just to get an idea of height. Then I started on some of the front towers here just to get them up and create some structure, so I could start deciding on how high I'm going to build the outer towers. Just working on the entryway again. And here I am, I'm laying down what's going to be the walkway into the main tower. Here you'll see that I'm going to lay in some walls that's going to be the entrance into the grand hall. So right now, those circles extend all the way down to the level that I'm cutting out, which I believe is level like 72, I believe. Right now the towers extend all the way down, but eventually a lot of those towers are going to be broken inside, so when you walk in there's going to be a hallway effect and you're not going to get the feel of the tars. It's kind of hard to explain. It'll make more sense probably episode 3, episode 4 when I get this sort of roof structure up in that area. And I'm just leveling out the interior and replacing any dirt at the base of the tower with brick. I'm taking up the second, and that is what's called a 15 tower. The one in the back left is a 13, and the other one is, I think that one's a 27 on the Minecraft circle template. Now I'm building the next entrance. There's one on the opposite side, so I had to build another one for people to get out to this more open area. And I'm going to put a garden over here, I'm thinking. Kind of a nice castle garden, place to wander, maybe run into the king or the queen. And here I go, starting to build the big tower up. A little bit. Then I got distracted. There you can see sort of what I mean about digging out an area that is going to flow right into the into the castle's main hall. Here I am raising the larger tower again. And I really wanted this one to reach up into the heavens. This was going to be a tower that you're going to see from all over town. The king is going to live maybe at the very top of the tower. So he needs to be able to look out over his entire kingdom and see everything. You can see just how high we're getting with this tower. Now I decided to come out and work a little bit on the walls themselves. So this is one of the side entrances. You see the small bridge over there. So I'm building up the tower that's going to protect that small area. I decided to go with oak wood for the walkway, and then I went in and I laid in, or I thought I was going to lay in some crenellations, but then I decided the tower was too tall, so I actually am taking it down by one level. I was sort of playing around with how I was going to crenellate it, and I decided that was the best way to crenellate it was actually to have it step out with the upside down steps, and I think it gave a lot better walkway for our soldiers to walk through. Now we're bringing up this tower again, and laying in for the next walkway. I like the oak because it really sets out where the walkway is. You probably wouldn't really have oak in a castle like this because you'd be afraid of flaming bolts or something like that. Now here I am screwing up almost immediately and then having to go in and fix things, but here comes up the other side of the small tower. And again, you wouldn't, like I said, oak probably isn't accurate historically, but I think it looks really nice and it adds a lot of texture. And the amount of gray, even with cracked stone brick and mossy stone brick, the amount of gray just needed to be broken up. So I decided it needed to be broken up with the wood. And I felt the oak was probably the nicest color, especially since oak is a predominant tree in this area that we're working in. So there's our corner tower. I'm just laying down the next run of our walkway. And crenellating it. I did like this crenellation because it really opened up the walkway. Now I stepped back and I looked at this and I realized that my tower, my biggest tower, it looked dead next to the other towers. You could see it, but it was lost basically in the look. So I decided I needed to replace it with basalt. And this was not a fun task. In Tekkit or Vanilla, I would go get World Edit and I'd just make a brush and change it all. But I don't have that option here. There's no World Edit for Feed the Beast that I could use. So I had to do it by hand. And this was a long process to tear it all the way down and then build it all the way back up. And of course, you know, it had to be the biggest tower, so it's going to take a while no matter what you do. And there was really no fast way to do it. Still working our way up. About halfway done with the tower. I'm leaving it jagged up top because it is going to go higher up. I just needed to replace it to make sure that it looked right and that we weren't going to have a strange looking castle. Now I could do all of the towers in this basalt, but then I'd have the inverse problem where it would be lost in amongst the other towers. And I do have a plan with this because it does look like a giant black slab. I do have a plan to make this a better looking tower, but we'll get to that once we have more of the structure completed and we get back to more of the fine detailing of this castle. Now I'm just building up a little bit higher in various areas. I got bored with that, so I decided to go and work more on the entryway. As I built it, I realized it didn't look quite like I wanted it to look, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted out of it. So I'm going to leave it for now. And I am going to go back and I'm going to have to make some adjustments to that entryway. It doesn't feel right to me, and I don't know what's wrong with it quite yet. I just know I don't like it. So I went ahead and continued with my wall and my tower in this opposite corner. Laying in our floor and pulling the walls up. I let that sheep out. I had to break the wall and herd the sheep out because I didn't want a sheep stuck in my tower. And we're just working our way along this wall as kind of our side wall, or one of our side walls. You can kind of see that big giant tower towering up. It's nowhere near complete, but it's close. We just continue working our way along, bringing that all up to an even level. Working on our observation tower to watch people approaching along the valley there. I decided to use stone as a break point, sort of as a point to denote where this extra tower was added in. And I started adding this in and realized I needed to step down 2 steps. So you'll see that the wall actually does step 2 times. And that's how I rectified the problem with the difference in height between these various walls. And here is our castle as it stands today. You see the big dark basalt tower, half finished, quarter finished, towering over the other towers. We've got this entryway that's going to get a further treatment. I need to work on that entryway. It doesn't quite look the way I want it to. We go into our great hall. And in that great hall we'll eventually have a roof. I got to figure out what we're going to do there, but we're going to have a giant roof handing up over our small tower and our defensive towers on the outer ring. Back towards what will eventually be town. This is our castle. We've got a long ways to go. Put your comments down below. Let me know what else needs to be done.